Hello, everybody. Thank you, Kayla. My name is Addison Godine. I'm the founder of Livelight, and this is my pitch. Begin with a quote by Green, a pioneer in the built environment, TED speaker, and founder of Michael Green Architecture, now by Katerra. He said, "The construction industry is broken, but not enough that people want to fix it. Construction is the last craft. Everything else is built in a factory. Everything else has been systematized. Designers work in a room, and contractors work in the rain. To anyone outside our industry, it makes." We agree with Mr. Green, but prefer to talk about it in a slightly different way. We say it's the building-making process that is broken. It's too expensive, too slow, and quality varies too much. This can be attributed to many issues, such as the inherent and growing complexity of things, weather delays, and low-volume purchasing. But we want to focus on this last reason in black, this idea that every building needs to be a one-off. In almost every other industry, designers work toward a point in time at which they can go into production. To get to that point, they build prototypes, test them, show them to customers, build second, third, fourth prototypes, and continue the process until it's as perfect as they can make it. Then they go into production, building tens of thousands of copies of that prototype. In the building making process as it exists today, we build the prototype once, and then we start all over again. This paradigm affords us little opportunity to learn from that prototype and design a better iteration for the next round. To the problem of too expensive, too slow, and too various in quality, the market has responded with the resurgence of two old ideas: volumetric modular and panelized. Volumetric modularism, whereby a building is divided up into three-dimensional boxes. Those boxes are built between 50% completion usually, and they're brought to site and stacked like bricks or blocks and then finished out with roofing, siding, and MEP connections. Panelized is a similar approach, but instead of dividing the building into modules, divides it into flat panels, minimizing the amount of air that gets shipped. The potential of these systems, according to a 2019 McKinsey study, is very good. A 20% reduction in cost and a 50% reduction in timeline. However, in reality, they are not as of yet living up to their potential. Our inquiries have shown that projects built ways often cost 5 to 10% more and save 10% in timeline. We think that's in large part because these projects are being developed using the same paradigm thinking. The idea that each building must be completely different from the next, that each building should be treated as a one-off, a prototype. What we're here to present today is a novel third way. We call it frame and module. It is a system that solves all of the problems of on-site construction. We should note that frame and module is not a solution for large space buildings like libraries and concert halls. This system is for buildings made up of small units. Here's how it works. Instead of stacking up volumetric modules like bricks, we rack them like drawers. On site, we build a frame out of prefabricated steel components. Frames are comprised of slips where modules live, and utilities in circulation are run to those slips. Frames are designed to be PV ready with easy attachments on the roof. In parallel, at the same time, we build modules to 100% completion in factory. Modules are trucked to site and lifted into their slips, and they plug and play. Modules are not interdependent with one another. They remain their own independent structures in the frame, and they can be removed at any time. Finally, a facade layer attaches to the outside of the frame like clothing. This is an architect-designed spoke layer that is experienced from the sidewalk and the street. It is tailored to the particulars of the project, site, and neighborhood with the intention making the building a good neighbor. By standardizing the slip size, making each module the same, and building 100% off-site, we take the building making process from one that's about projects to one that is about products. Here's a frame and module building could look. Some of you may be thinking, why hasn't anybody done this already? That's a good question. I think the answer is that the world has changed. We used to want and need more stuff. We had big households and lots of non-digital possessions that took up space. Today, 28% of us live alone with increasingly less stuff with much of our content and work coming in through three screens: our phone, our laptop, and our TV. More than space, what we really want today is joy, sustainability, attainability, convenience, health, and design. Spaces that meet these criteria don't have to be big. Suddenly, we can manufacture complete living spaces to 100% completion in factory. That is a big deal. We see this trend already starting in the tiny house movement and in micro apartments. We think that's just the tip of the iceberg. It should be said at this point that built-in factories does not at all mean lower quality, indeed just the opposite. Our modules will exceed energy code in every state, are built of ecologically friendly materials, and are built extremely precisely. These are highly engineered products. As an example, our energy modeling shows that it would take just 10 solar PV panels to make one of our modules net zero in a cold weather climate like Madison, Wisconsin, or Portland, Maine. Here's an image showing one of our modules in a frame. Note that circulation is outdoors, an experience more akin to walking through a neighborhood than down a double-loaded corridor filled with faceless doors. You're seeing your neighbors' dwellings, you're walking past their outdoor planters, you're overhearing their conversations on the deck. We are serious about the idea that living amongst others can help counteract the scourge of loneliness afflicting so many in this country. By circulating outdoors and giving each person their own space and doorknob, we also inadvertently create a more COVID-resistant building. What is the Livelight business model? We design, market, and sell modules, and here are some models. To build them, we contract with existing manufacturers. And by the way, note that the cabin module there, modules don't need to be inserted into frames to work. They can be standalone, serving as ADUs, guest houses, second homes, tiny houses, etc. We also design, sell, and market engineered frame components as part of the frame system. This system is currently engineered to be up to 3 stories high and as wide and deep as the project demands. Components fit together like IKEA furniture. We have a long-term vision, and that's the idea that frames can serve as a platform for a competitive module marketplace, just as roads serve as a competitive platform for the auto industry. We don't envision ourselves being the only manufacturer long-term. What's really exciting is that any space that can fit into one of our slips can work with our system. It's not just apartments and hotel rooms. Picture hospital room modules, retail store modules, restaurant modules, coffee shop modules. Imagine Starbucks, instead of designing each store individually, designs one store incredibly well and manufactures and distributes hundreds of them. That would represent a huge savings for a brand like Starbucks. Why are we working on this in the first place? Buildings are our biggest polluter and are also our biggest expense. They're also our greatest opportunity, representing the largest industry and asset class in the world. Finding a way to live lightly on our wallets and on our environment is one of the great opportunities and imperatives of our time. We are a team of proven doers, all with experience in startups and prefab architecture. Emma and I designed and deployed over 250 prefab cabins for venture-backed startup Getaway together and saw the incredible results of building identical units at scale. We are joined by a developer partner and several great vendors. What's next? Well, we need to build a building. All the developers say that's what we have to do to move forward. So we're seeking seed funding to further prove our concept on paper and also to subsidize and de-risk the first ever frame and module building. If anyone listening is interested in discussing further, my contact information is here. And thank you so much for your time.